boys, girls, all my chummels out there, welcome back to Other Robert, and welcome to 2017. At this point in the year, the very beginning of the new year, it's nice to reminisce about the previous year. 2016. We got some good movies, I think, and you'll see in some of these top 5 videos that I'm going to be making, I'm going to be talking about some of these great products of 2016, whether it be TV, movies, possibly video games. But 2016 also brought us some bad ones. So for this video, I will be talking the top 5 worst movies of 2016. Now, just disclaimer, these are movies that I saw. Now, if movies looked intentionally bad, I did not see them. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or whatever, Ninja Turtles. Second one, I did not see. Looked bad to me. I did not see it. It could have been good. Don't know. Didn't see it. Looked bad to me. Tarzan looked bad to me. Some things looked bad to me. I did not see them. So these are movies that I did see. I saw a good amount of movies this year, a healthy amount of movies. I've put up some reviews on the channel in 2016. So I'm just going to get into it. Number 5 is Sausage Party. Now, let me just say, Sausage Party had all the potential in the world, right? I mean, when adult animation comedy is at its finest, it's pretty damn great. I mean, you look at South Park, and South Park's still going, and South Park still has a tremendous following. That's an adult animation show. You look at Family Guy. People will say that Family Guy has fallen in value ever since Seth MacFarlane kind of loosened the reins of it and kind of sold the creative rights to most of the creative rights to Fox. And yeah, I mean, that's a video for a different time. But these shows are big. Simpsons, these adult animation shows are big. Adult animation, when it's good, it can be pretty damn good. Sausage Party was not good. I mean, it could have been so much. And it failed to live not only up to potential, but to the standards of what would be just a funny movie. It relied too heavily on visual gags, which I get it. That's what it was. It was food in the store, so visual gags, of course, would be there. But that's pretty much where it stopped. They try to get political, and they would have kind of these foods represent nations and stuff like that, and it was all right, but the movie never went to the next level. It didn't really deliver until the end. The end was hysterical, and that's why I walk out of the movie, I didn't feel betrayed. The ending was hysterical. The ending was worth sitting through the entire thing. But the movie really could have been so much more if they didn't rely just on visual gags the whole time. The movie definitely could have been better, well written. Written better. So unfortunately, number 5 is Sausage Party, which is a shame because going into 2016, Sausage Party was easily on my top 3 most anticipated movies. And maybe that is part of the reason why it's on this list, is just because of that anticipation for Sausage Party. But number 4, let me just double check, I got my list here, is another one that I was anticipating, not as much as Sausage Party, but Keanu by Key and Peele. It was stupid. It was meant to be stupid, but it really wasn't funny, and too many of the jokes missed instead of hit. And when you have a movie that's like that's kind of a mess, especially Key and Peele, they're funny. They are very funny. Their show, that's exactly what this felt like. Keanu felt like one of their skits, but the unfunny skits. One of the skits that you're saying, okay, let's get to the next skit, just drawn out into a full movie. So if the skit doesn't connect with you in the first couple minutes, it's not connecting with you for this entire thing. And I don't know if it's just me, but this didn't connect. This really was not funny. And I mean, at least Sausage Party had the ending, and the ending was hysterical. This really didn't have any funny moments, and when you're when you got Key and Peele there, you're you're expecting a lot, right? And maybe not as much as Sausage Party, but you have some expectations going into this. Even if you see the trailer isn't really funny, but you're like, yeah, you have faith in who it is. So it just eventually went nowhere, and it really wasn't funny. So unfortunately, number four is another comedy movie. It's Keanu. Number three is The Witch. Now, this one wasn't technically a bad movie. However, this another one should have been so much more than it was. What this movie relied on was it went with the classic Blair Witch Project approach, where it's there, something's there, but you don't necessarily see it, and that's fine. I love movies like that. Frankenstein Theory is a good independent movie that follows that approach until the end, the last minute. I would say it changes, but for the most part here, you don't really see much, and it's more of a psychological kind of horror, and I'm fine with that. I love those type of movies. However, this felt like it used that as a crutch instead of a plot device, if that makes sense. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I feel like after having watched that movie, that they felt they could make a cheaper movie by not really showing much and just kind of watching this psychological kind of torment on the family. But I mean, it's a very boring watch, and it's not interesting when it comes to the characters and really their torment, because the characters just aren't interesting. If you don't have interesting characters and the plot itself isn't too interesting, then if you're relying on that for kind of a psychological kind of horror that takes place over the course of, what was it, 2 hours, it's going to be a boring movie, and that's essentially what we got. Like I said, it wasn't the worst movie, right? I mean, obviously that's why it's not number one. But this movie really was just a slow burn, and it eventually kind of went nowhere. There are parts that they kind of write the boy off, the son, for a good portion of the movie, and it all just seemed like, where with each scene, how could they spend less and less? And it was weird, right? I mean, like I said, it seemed like they used their weaknesses in ways that showed that they were weaknesses. Instead of just using them to strengthen the movie, they let it bring the movie down. Whereas movies like Blair Witch Project leaves a lot to the imagination. And Frankenstein Theory, or two movies that kind of take this approach, this one feels like it uses it to kind of get the movie across at the expense of, oh, okay, we don't, we can't really do much here visually or whatever in terms of the story. So it kind of hurts it, if that makes sense. I mean, I just think it was that kind of approach done wrong. When you have a movie that you don't really see the bad guy, right, it's hard, right? It's harder to do. You really have to emphasize that psychological horror. And I don't think they did that. And eventually where it led to, I just think it kind of just got lost in itself, and essentially at the end wound up becoming a pretty poor made movie. And that's a shame, because Witch had all the potential, and it had the right elements, just done wrong. So number two is Ride Along 2. This is not a movie that should have been made. Ride Along 1 was not good. It was probably the most original script that I've ever seen done on screen. And they got a sequel. And the sequel's exactly what you'd expect. It wasn't funny. It was Kevin Hart being loud and Ice Cube being tough, which is, if you see any of either of their movies, that's what they are. So it's just the two of them together doing that, and it's not really funny. And it goes on for a little while, and it's still not funny. And if you saw the first one, you saw this one, and it's not funny. So this was made, right? I mean, if you saw that Ride Along 2 was getting made, I think you pretty much knew at that point. No, yeah, it's gonna be a mess. So, and it was, and it unfortunately I had the unfortunate luck of seeing Ride Along 2, and I mean I don't even know what else to say. If you've seen the first one, you've seen the second one, and I guess with some people it hits. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been a sequel. But with this viewer, it very much does not, and for that reason, Ride Along 2 is number 2. Number 1, and this should come as no surprise to anyone on this channel who has followed the channel through 2016, and I think I've mentioned it a couple times. My number 1 most hated movie of 2016, Batman vs Superman. This was a mess. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, there's like 4 dream sequences. I mean, there were more freaking dreams than Inception. It was so dark. It stopped being Nolan. You're not Nolan. They're trying to recreate the Dark Knight trilogy in a different way with Superman and Batman and the whole Justice League thing and making it so dark. And don't do that. Marvel, for the most part, I mean, the TV shows, sure, but the movies, not really that dark, right? They're fun. They're superheroes. That's what they are. And sometimes it works. And in Nolan's trilogy, it worked. But if that's all you're ever going to do with these characters, you're destined to fail. That's not what these are. Superman is not dark. I'm sorry, he's not gritty. He's not dark. He's not this brute kind of. He's not Logan, right? He's Superman. He's supposed to be uplifting. It's supposed to be a more fun experience to see, and this wasn't fun. And that's what these movies are supposed to be, fun. Especially when you get to the DC characters. I love the DC characters. The DC characters are way more interesting, in my opinion, than the Marvel characters. Why is DC messing up so much then? You still got Zack Snyder with so much creative control over the series, and he continues to fail. And, it's time at this point to kind of redirect, right? You don't need a recast. You don't need to get a whole new everything. You just need to write it how it's supposed to be written. You just need to write it differently. I get that you're doing a different approach or whatever. People are saying, oh, this is the new 52. Whatever. They're superheroes, right? Let them be superheroes. Don't drag it down with all this darkness and this grittiness. Because I'm not talking about these characters having problems, or struggles. We see that all the time. We see that in DC, in the TV shows. Flash and Arrow have trouble. And even though Arrow's dark, Flash is not. Legends of Tomorrow is not. Supergirl's not. That's the DC characters, especially when you have Flash coming into this universe in Batman vs Superman. He's in Batman vs Superman for a split second. Why? Why are you doing this? It worked with the Dark Knight trilogy because that was Nolan. Because Nolan is who he is and everything, the stars aligned, right? That worked out great. This obviously is not working. With Man of Steel, it did not work. With Batman vs Superman, it clearly did not work. Suicide Squad, I mean, not the worst movie ever made. Not the best, though. Spoiler alert, it wasn't on this list, but it's not going to be on the top 5 best list either. These movies are kind of a mess, and in Batman vs Superman, it was a lot of a mess. It's just all over the place. And eventually, if you haven't seen the movie by this point, I mean, is this a spoiler? I don't know. Batman vs Superman. Personal problem I had is if you're gonna have the two of them fight in the titles as verse, you kind of need a winner. And although it seemed like Batman was gonna win, it wasn't really clear cut. I think if you advertise it as a fight in the title, you advertise it. This one versus this one. You really can't give us a draw. And I know that it would make one or the other look weaker, but that's how you advertised it, right? If you're going to advertise a fight, if UFC advertises a fight, how pissed off would viewers be? I mean, it happens. You see draws in sports, but if you can control the outcome here, you don't want to write a draw, right? And And what leads to the draw, and this is what baffled me, was both of their names are Martha, and both of their mothers' names are Martha. I get it. I get what they were doing. I get that it showed the humanity in Superman or whatever, but come on. That's what ended this fight. I mean, it just... And honestly, Jesse Eisenberg's impression of Heath Ledger's Joker was the best part of the movie. And that wasn't Lex Luthor, right? I mean, I know a lot of people are saying it's Lex Luthor's son. I'm fine with that. I liked Eisenberg in the movie. You know, he was fun in my book. It was the writing for the movie, the directing, the control, the direction, the whole approach with this movie was wrong and was lacking, and it was not what it should have been. And it was just, they got Batman vs. Superman, or Superman vs. Batman, I don't even remember what it was called, which in its title guarantees you, and it made a lot of money, but it should have made more, you know? This should have been one of the most fun movies ever made. You know, as a big summer movie type, big event, you know, grand fight. This should have been huge. It should have been so much fun. It wasn't, and the fact that it wasn't really this fun movie with everyone is kind of why it shows that it wasn't good. So these were my top 5 worst movies of 2016. Like I said, you know, these were my opinion. You know, that I intentionally avoided movies that I thought would be bad, except for Ride Along 2. I don't know what I was thinking with that. I avoided movies that I knew were going to be bad. So some really bad movies that came out this year, clearly not on this list. I didn't see them. These were the top 5 worst movies this year that I had seen. I had seen a good amount of movies. So that's it for me. This is the fun part, though, because I gave you my list. I want to see your lists. I want to see, do we have any similarities? Are there some that I left out that you have on yours? This is the really fun part. So let me know your guys' top 5 worst or most hated movies of 2016 down below. Subscribe because it takes around that much effort to do so. Until next time, you have been traumatized.